Taxes on silver, gold, platinum, and other precious metals can often have huge ramifications for the types that we buy, how much we buy, and then at the other end when we sell and what kind of returns we will get. So today I want to talk about the different types of taxes and things to think about when investing in physical precious metals. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Now this week's Precious Metal Ramble is going to be all about taxes on gold, silver and platinum and any other precious metal for that matter. I don't want this video to be a merits versus demerits on whether or not taxes are a good or bad thing, but rather a top-down look at the different types of taxes that might be applicable for you where you are when buying but also when selling. And both of those can have a big impact, and it's worth taking note of them to inform the types of silver or gold, or type of metal even, whether it's silver or gold, when you buy and invest in precious metals. It's important to remind you all that I am not a formal financial advisor. This is not formal tax advice, and it is very important that you all go and check out what is right for you in your own country. I'm not going to be quoting different thresholds and numbers and tax rates and various things like that. This is very much a let's get the brain juices flowing and consider all of the different things out there that might inform what's right for you where you are. So it's important that you go and have a look at those different elements. So the first bit I want to talk about is taxes when buying. Now, taxes when buying is the one that really gets most people riled up, sort of that, hot button topic. But they are a factor to play, and certainly for us in the United Kingdom, they have been a big bugbear topic for a long time. The whole sort of reason I got into silver in the first place was to protect my wealth. And whilst I don't agree with the fact that taxes on silver exist, they do. And there have been different ways to get silver at lower tax rates, like before Brexit, when we could buy from Europe and have it imported, part of the quirks of the European Union. That avenue is sadly closed. So now if we want to buy silver in whatever form it might be from a bullion dealer business here in the United Kingdom, we pay 20% sales tax, plus whatever other premium is on the coin as well. And often that premium can be dictated by taxes that are on the raw metal when it comes into the United Kingdom, or the types of things that come into the United Kingdom and the EU generally. Silver is more of an industrial metal, and it always has been. So that is definitely a big factor. So for us in the United Kingdom, for example, gold is 0% tax. No sales taxes on this at all. Now, sales taxes are a really interesting topic that is becoming more and more prevalent around the world. Traditionally, in the US, for example, sales taxes were not a factor for a lot of people ever on silver or gold. And I remember when I got started in this, you'd see people moaning in the US about 2, 3, 4% sales taxes that were being put in at state levels for different things, or online sales taxes to try and protect and preserve physical brick and mortar businesses. So there are definitely different, governments and countries around the world starting to implement these new tax rules and regimes for physical silver, and it's something to definitely think about. I mean, what I mentioned there about the online taxes for online retailers, that's something that might one day start to affect even a business like myself. When I'm selling, I don't have to charge VAT and taxes because my business is too small. If you're buying from a big registered business, they will often have to be registered to charge sales tax because of their size. So perhaps one of the things to think about is to try and find some local, very small businesses that deal in small quantities of different things, because perhaps they won't have to actually charge you the sales tax. However, that's shoes and roundabouts, or what's the word? I don't even know, kicks and roundabouts, because unfortunately, tax always gets taxed. That's part of the problem with taxes. When you're a big business and you're VAT registered or sales tax registered, often you'll be able to claim back the taxes that you spend when buying your stock, but then you have to charge it to your customers. If you're not, you can't reclaim that back, so it's often put into the purchase price. So it's really very difficult to kind of avoid any sales tax on any products that you buy from big registered companies or even smaller businesses. But buying secondhand, for example, there are different second-hand margin schemes that you could look to take advantage of. Various different companies do that, and when buying second-hand, it's not new, so it shouldn't have sales tax on. But again, that's a complicated topic, and some businesses don't do that or can't do that. So, sales taxes are a big factor. So for us in the United Kingdom, we look at silver and think, it's not really good at that price point for a bullion grade piece of silver. There are, of course, alternatives, buying, as I said, secondhand through places like the Silver Forum or YouTube or Instagram or wherever it might be. So that's definitely something to think about. But online sales taxes are an interesting one. And I do want to finish this little segment up by saying that there are, in fact, some different businesses that will, for example, in the United States, I know, I'm not sort of going to quote things, again, it's not formal advice, but some businesses will have to charge online sales taxes, but they don't when buying physically in person. So, it's to protect brick and mortar businesses, really. So that's definitely something to think about. Support your local businesses, support your local coin stores. That's definitely an important thing. As well, we haven't even talked about platinum. Platinum is one of those other things that is also taxed here in the UK. And again, industrial metal, silver and platinum, very much used in industry. Gold, very much that monetary metal, and it's not taxed. Although, interesting point of order, gold used to have sales tax on it back, I think in the 1990s or late 1990s, it came off here in the United Kingdom. So, lots of different things to think about when buying. Now, when selling, that's another really important thing, and it's not necessarily something that everybody thinks about because a lot of people don't really envisage ever even selling their silver and gold, and perhaps even when they do, it's going to be so far in the future that they're really not too bothered about it. And to a certain degree, I will agree that is most certainly, a factor for me. I'm buying certain amounts of gold which are not capital gains tax exempt. So that's the main tax that you will look to have when selling at the other side. Capital gains will come in different forms for different countries. Some are called asset taxes or asset release taxes and things like that. But generally speaking, it's essentially if you make money on something, if you buy something and you sell it, and you make money on it, the government, wherever you might be, goes, we want a piece of that. Again, keeping the topic of whether or not taxes are a good thing to one side, taxes on investments like this are not uncommon, and it's something you have to factor in. Now, for me, I buy a lot of gold that is not capital gains tax exempt, and that's one of the brilliant things about Britannia's. You can buy this, make £1 million profit on it, if ever gold got to that stupid number, and you'd be fine. There'd be absolutely no tax to pay on that. However, not for this. If you buy this piece of gold and then sell it and make £1 million profit on it, you're going to have to declare that and make, have to pay some taxes on it. Now, I've always said that if you are ever in a position where you are having to pay capital gains tax, it's a good thing because it means that you've made money. You've actually been profitable on your investment. Again, we're kind of steering a little close to the whether or not taxes are a good thing or not. But generally speaking, taxes in terms of capital gains tax is not something that most people will have to worry about unless you have a significant amount of precious metal. There is a certain allowance for every individual each year, and with the capital gains exempt stuff, that doesn't even have to factor in or count. And of course, if you're married as well, then you can use partners' allowances as well. So there's a whole host of different ways that you can minimise that capital gains potential burden on your sort of selling situation at the other end, spreading out sales, for example. But again, that's something to factor in at the start. If you're looking just to go out and buy a large lump of gold, a kilo bar of gold, and let's say gold trebles in value, you've made yourself good £80,000 profit there in one go. You have to have a big kilo bar that you sell all in one go. Theoretically, you could chop it up and sell bits for scrap, but ultimately, it's not really very practical. You're going to have to pay the taxes. If you have a bunch of different individual 1 ounce coins, even if they're not exempt, then you'll be fine. You won't have to sell it all in one go to release that profit. But of course, the other converse argument there is that you have to sell it over time and you can't trickle it down. And certainly if gold shoots the moon, that's going to be difficult to avoid that threshold each time you sell. So lots of really interesting parts for selling. Silver and gold both have, and platinum in fact, have these premiums attached to them when selling as well. So one of the things that I know a lot of people are concerned about is when they buy silver with the tax, or when they buy platinum with the tax on it and the premium, and it's £35 an ounce for their different bullion grade Britannias, and it's got a huge 40-50% premium. You do find that when selling on a second-hand market to individuals, not to dealers, that you do retain some of those premiums. However, it's not always as much as when you purchased, so do factor that in. But it's certainly better than selling to, sort of a dealer and getting spot price or a little above spot price for whatever it is that you've got. However, selling at the other end can be a little bit of a minefield. If you are kind of like me, where you've got a bunch of different silver coins that you've got and you've enjoyed and you're holding for a long time, and the idea generally for me is that once we've got a certain amount of silver and gold, we'll look to stop, and then when we get to a certain age, may it be retirement or a little earlier or whenever, the idea for me is to start selling silver over time. Just basically be a little online shop that people can come and buy from. But that is difficult, and it makes me think about actually the exit strategy there, because if you're selling like that, there's a good chance that you might be looked upon as a business, and being a business means different types of taxes to consider. Now, I'm already a little independent business for my poured silver side of things, and I know quite a lot about this. Again, not formal advice, not taxation advice in any means or way, but ultimately it is a little bit of a minefield. You do have to pay essentially income tax on profit. So if you buy things, manufacture things and sell them, you're a business. Whether you're just doing it as a hobby, there are only certain amounts of thresholds before you are compelled to register with your tax authority to pay income tax. And that is definitely a big factor to play, and that will override any capital gains exemption status that you might have on your items. So, for example, if I take these capital gains exempt silver coins here, and in 10 years' time start selling them on a semi-regular basis, like every week or so, and just have a shop on my website, there's a good chance that that could be interpreted as a business, and then the capital gains tax exemption on this would disappear. So separation of church and state is a phrase I always like to have, which can be very complicated if you are already a sort of independent seller of different things. So if you are, for example, doing a little bit of flipping to make a little of extra cash to enhance the amount of silver that you can buy, or just as a fun hobby, because it's a lot of different skills that can be learned from doing a little buying and selling business. It's great, and I would recommend it to everybody. Of course, it improves your seller profile as well. But badges of trade is a phrase that you'll need to understand. If you are deemed to be a business, then life starts to get a little bit more complicated. And yes, you'll need to have some clear delineation between business assets and private investment assets. And, maybe one day you might have to defend yourself when challenged by HMRC or the tax authorities. So keeping really good records is imperative, really important as well. So there are a whole host of different things to factor in around taxes on silver and gold when both buying and selling. Generally, though, it's a topic that we just have to kind of deal with. A lot of people right now feel that buying silver, even with taxes and with all of this talk of silver potentially going parabolic and going to the moon and silver squeezing and just generally having it because the dollar's going to collapse anytime soon. There's definitely arguments to be had about that, and I will certainly concede that the silver that I have is important to hold on to for a longer period of time. But ultimately, going all in and buying a boatload of silver is not necessarily a great idea, certainly for us right now in the United Kingdom. Buying a boatload of gold, now that's something I'd do. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd buy myself a ton of gold rather than a ton of silver, let me tell you. But that is fanciful thinking, and I suppose even if I buy a ton of gold, that's probably going to incur some significant amount of notice from the powers that be, and then taxes really will be a problem. So yes, let's hear your thoughts down in the comment section. Oh, there was actually one more point that I wanted to make, really important one. So we've got the two taxes, buying and selling. Those are two big ones. There is also, maybe one day, the talk of wealth taxes. So, of course, when buying and selling gold and silver as a business, you have to keep records. Businesses often have to get ID from individuals when they buy a certain amount of gold or silver. The information will easily be traced, easily passed on to the powers that be, and there could be wealth taxes one day. So owning your silver and your gold might end up being taxed. That's an interesting thing to think about, and something that certainly does not sit well with me. But anyway, that is enough for me today. A big thank you to you all for watching. If you've enjoyed, put a thumbs up on this video and share it around through your social media. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for more videos like this in the future. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Otherwise, have a great week ahead. We'll see you on the next one. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.